All started when I decided to take a much-needed vacation. After years of juggling work and life, I packed my bags and headed off to a tropical paradise. Leaving my home and property in the care of my neighbors, little did I know that my relaxing getaway would turn into an unexpected saga. Upon my return, I was greeted not by the familiar sights of my quiet land, but by the towering structure of a brand-new hotel. Confused, I stood there, mouth agape, as I read the shiny sign out front, "Serenity Suites, now open." I quickly gathered my thoughts and approached the hotel. A cheerful receptionist waved at me as if I were a long-lost friend. "Welcome. Are you here to book a stay?" she asked brightly. No. I'm here to find out why there's a hotel on my land," I exclaimed, pointing to the property line marked clearly on my deed. The receptionist blinked, then called the manager. Enter Karen, the HOA president, who waltzed over with a smug smile. "Oh, we thought this land was abandoned. We took the liberty of developing it into a hotel for the community." "Developing it?" I replied, barely containing my laughter. "You mean stealing it?" Karen waved her hand dismissively. "You were gone for so long. We assumed you weren't coming back." That's when I decided to pull out my secret weapon, my legal documents. I had been researching property rights before my trip, and to my surprise, I discovered that I was still the rightful owner of the land along with any developments made on it. With a grin, I said, "Well, too bad for you, Karen. I'm legally the owner of this hotel now." The color drained from her face. "You can't be serious." She sputtered, but I just smiled wider. I decided to have a little fun with my newfound ownership. Instead of kicking everyone out immediately, I hosted a grand reopening party for the hotel. I invited the entire community, complete with food trucks, games, and live music. I even offered discounted rates for the first month to locals, turning the hotel into a community hub rather than a corporate cash grab as the celebration unfolded. I watched Karen flounder, trying to regain control of the situation. The community loved the hotel and its new, friendly owner in the end. I transformed what could have been a nightmare into a thriving business and a source of joy for my neighbors. Karen eventually had to concede defeat, and I made sure to keep her in the loop about all future developments. Who knew a vacation would lead to becoming an accidental hotelier? Life has a funny way of surprising you. It all started innocently enough. After years of relentless work, I decided it was finally time for a vacation. I needed to escape the grind, recharge my batteries, and perhaps indulge in a little sun and sand. So, I packed my bags, booked a trip to a tropical paradise, and waved goodbye to my home for a couple of weeks as I lounged on the beach, sipping cocktails and soaking up the sun. Little did I know that my peaceful getaway was about to take an unexpected turn. I returned home, sunscreen still on my skin, only to be greeted by a towering structure that looked more like a spaceship than a hotel. "Serenity Suites, now open," was splashed across a bright neon sign. I stood there, mouth agape, staring at the building where my peaceful backyard had once been. My first thought was, did I accidentally take a wrong turn and end up in a new dimension? But no, it was all too real. As I approached the hotel, confusion turned into disbelief. The place was bustling. Guests were checking in. People were lounging by a pool that had previously been my garden, and I could hear the faint sound of music wafting through the air. The receptionist, a cheerful woman with a name tag that read Lisa, waved at me. "Welcome to Serenity Suites. Are you here to book a stay?" she asked, her smile bright enough to blind. No," I stammered, still trying to process the situation. "I'm here to find out why there's a hotel on my land." Lisa blinked, momentarily taken aback. "Oh, you must be the owner. I'll get the manager right away." Moments later, Karen, the HOA president and notorious busybody, strutted over with an air of authority that could rival a queen. She had her clipboard in one hand and a glimmer of mischief in her eyes. "Ah, you're back. We thought you had abandoned this property," she said, her tone dripping with faux concern. "Abandoned? Are you kidding me?" "I was on vacation," I shot back, pointing to the hotel that now occupied my space. "You can't just build a hotel on someone's land without asking." Karen waved her hand dismissively. We assumed it was vacant. The community needed more accommodations, and we thought this would be a perfect spot. Besides, you were gone for so long. I felt my blood boiling. You thought wrong? This is my land, and I have the paperwork to prove it. As I pulled out my deed and began flipping through pages filled with legal jargon, Karen's demeanor shifted slightly. You can't be serious, she exclaimed, though I could see a flicker of worry behind her confident facade. Oh, I'm very serious, I said, a smile creeping onto my face. You see, while I was sipping pina coladas on the beach, I did some research on property rights. And guess what? I'm still the rightful owner of this land and everything built on it. I could see the color drain from Karen's face as the reality of the situation sank in. But, she stammered, flustered and scrambling for words. Too bad for you, Karen. Looks like I'm now the proud owner of Serenity Suites, I declared, reveling in the moment. With newfound empowerment, I decided to turn this situation around. Instead of immediately kicking everyone out and shutting the hotel down, I had a better idea. I would host a grand reopening party, turning the hotel into a community hub rather than a corporate cash grab. Let's have some fun with this, I thought. I quickly organized an event, inviting the entire neighborhood to celebrate the new Hotel My Hotel. I contacted food trucks, set up games, and even arranged for live music. The community was buzzing with excitement, and I could feel the energy building. On the day of the party, the hotel was alive with laughter and joy. Families gathered, kids splashed in the pool, and the smell of delicious food filled the air. I mingled with guests, greeting everyone with a smile and enjoying the camaraderie that filled the space. It felt like a festival, and I was the host of this newfound gathering place. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I spotted Karen lurking near the entrance, arms crossed and glaring at the festivities. It was clear she was not pleased with how things had turned out. I couldn't resist the urge to approach her. Enjoying the party, Karen? I asked, feigning innocence. She huffed. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. You're not going to get away with this. Oh, but I already have, I replied with a grin. The community loves it. And now they see how nice it is to have a hotel that serves them, rather than just a place for tourists. Karen fumed, but couldn't argue with the crowd's enthusiasm. People were having a blast, and the atmosphere was infectious. I watched as she tried to rally a few supporters, but they seemed more interested in the festivities than her complaints. In the following weeks, I continued to run the hotel, transforming it into a beloved spot for locals. I implemented community events, family movie nights by the pool, and weekend brunches that became the talk of the town. The hotel flourished, and I found joy in being a part of the community. Meanwhile, Karen was left to stew in her frustration. She attempted to rally the HOA against me, but her power seemed to wane as people embraced the changes. I even invited her to join in on some events, hoping to mend fences, but she refused, sticking to her rigid rules and regulations. One day, while I was setting up for a community yoga session on the lawn, Karen approached me again. This time, she was less confrontational. I still don't agree with how you handled this, she said, arms crossed. Maybe not, I replied, but look around. People are happy, and that's what matters. After a long pause, she sighed. Fine, but you should still abide by the HOA rules. Of course, I said, smiling. But let's also focus on what the community needs. How about we work together instead? To my surprise, she nodded slowly, considering my proposal. Perhaps there was hope for a more collaborative relationship after all. As the months rolled by, my unexpected journey from vacationer to hotel owner became a cherished tale in the community. I had turned a potential nightmare into something beautiful. I had forged new friendships along the way. And every time I saw Karen, it was with a newfound respect. After all, she had challenged me, and in doing so, pushed me to take charge of my own destiny. We may not have seen eye to eye, but I had learned that sometimes life's surprises can lead to the most rewarding outcomes. In the end, my tropical vacation led to a new chapter in my life, one filled with laughter, community, and the occasional run-in with Karen, who had become less of a foe and more of a quirky neighbor. And as I relaxed by the pool, watching families enjoy the hotel I now owned, I couldn't help but smile and think, what a wild ride it's been. What a wild ride it's been.
My name is Ethan, and my relationship with the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, the same HOA that spawned the infamous Breezy Harrington, had always been one of frosty distance. I kept my distance, and they kept sending me passive-aggressive notices about my mailbox paint. Last year, I decided I needed a serious break. I leased my house to a quiet professional couple and embarked on a 9-month sailing trip across the Pacific. I left the HOA my forwarding address and a promise to pay my dues. I expected to come home to the same quiet neighborhood, maybe with a few more bushes added by the HOA's relentless pursuit of curb appeal. I did not expect a $12 million luxury boutique hotel. When I finally drove back into Willow Creek Estates, I stopped dead at the entrance to what used to be my street. My house was still there, but where the empty, overgrown lot next to me used to be, a lot I had purchased years ago specifically for privacy and future expansion, stood a 4-story structure of glass and polished stone. It was sleek, modern, and utterly massive. A sign, professionally carved and subtly lit, declared, "The Willow Creek Shores Inn, a retreat for exclusive guests." I parked, shaking, and walked up to the fence surrounding the construction zone. A friendly foreman walked over. "Can I help you, sir? This area is restricted." "I think you built a hotel on my land," I managed, pointing at the boundary where my original plot ended and the hotel's foundation began. The foreman blinked. "No way, buddy. This is all common property approved by the HOA. We broke ground 6 months ago." I felt a cold dread mixed with pure fury. They had done it. While I was thousands of miles away, the HOA had secretly decided my vacant lot was the perfect spot for their new revenue stream, banking on the fact that an easement or a simple property line adjustment would save them. The legal discovery, I retrieved my original deed and survey maps, hired the best property attorney in the state, Sarah Chen, and marched down to the HOA office. The current HOA president, a man named Howard who resembled a nervous garden gnome, was expecting me. "Mr. Hayes, welcome home. We're delighted to see you," Howard stammered, avoiding eye contact. "Look, we understand this is a shock. There was a minor administrative error regarding the exact lot lines. We were under the impression the corner of your lot was common property. A minor error that put the foundation, the entire lobby and the main swimming pool of a multi-million-dollar commercial venture on my private property," I countered, slapping the survey map down. The map clearly showed that 80% of the hotel's footprint, including the central structure, sat squarely on my deeded land. Howard offered a settlement. "The HOA will compensate you handsomely. We'll buy the land from you at 3 times the market rate, pay for your legal fees, and give you a lifetime discount on the spa services." Sarah cut in smoothly, her voice steel cold. "That's generous, Howard. But you seem to misunderstand the situation. You didn't just trespass. You executed a permanent, substantial, and unprotested encroachment on private property for commercial gain." She then dropped the legal bombshell. "In this state, if a property owner builds a permanent, expensive structure on adjacent land without objection, and that structure has been in place for more than 6 months, which this hotel has, the original owner has a few options. One of those options, given the extreme scale and cost of the construction, is to file for an improver's lien and claim ownership of the improvement itself, or in this case, the entire hotel, as it is inseparable from the land it occupies." Howard's face went white. "Adverse possession? That's not how that works." "It's slightly different, but the outcome is the same. The construction company built the hotel on the belief that the HOA owned the land. Since the HOA was grossly negligent, the courts can declare the HOA forfeited their claim to the improvement built in bad faith," Sarah explained. "Mr. Hayes owns the land. He now owns the hotel standing on it. The transfer of title, the ensuing legal battle, was short and brutal. The HOA's legal team had no defense against the clear deed records and the established legal precedent of permanent encroachment. They couldn't move the hotel, and the value of my land, now hosting a luxury resort, had skyrocketed. The judge's ruling was delivered 3 months later. It was a stunning victory. The judge ordered the full title and ownership of the Willow Creek Shores Inn, its name, its assets, its future revenue, and its debt to the construction firm to be legally transferred to me, Ethan Hayes, the owner of the land. The HOA was forced to settle the construction debt, which bankrupted their entire operational budget and forced them to initiate a massive emergency assessment fine on every single homeowner in the community. They had essentially funded a multi-million-dollar business and handed me the keys. Today, the Willow Creek Shores Inn is thriving. I immediately fired the existing management and installed my own professional team. I kept the name but added a new subtle motto to the sign, built on a solid foundation of bureaucratic incompetence. The irony of it all is rich. Every single person in the Willow Creek Estates community, including Breezy and poor bankrupt Howard, is now contributing to my immense personal wealth through their HOA fees, which are funneled directly into the management company I hired to oversee my hotel. They had tried to take my privacy and steal my land. Instead, they handed me a new career, a massive asset, and the sweetest revenge imaginable. Now, whenever I see a disgruntled HOA resident, I simply offer them a free weekend stay at my hotel, a little reminder of what happens when you mess with a homeowner who actually reads his deed.